everyone, welcome to my channel, RPG Retro Reviews. I'm Captain Courageous and I review old school modules and games and try to give them a fun and informative analysis. This week I'm putting away my Wayback Machine and taking a look at a modern adventure module written in the old school style from Dark Wizard Games. Maximum Mayhem Dungeon number 3, Villains of the Undercity. Dark Wizard Games currently has a Kickstarter campaign to reprint the first group of modules from this series. It only has a few days left and is already funded, so if you jump in now, you'll get a 27% discount over the web store price. You can pick any module you like or any group of modules, and since this is a reprint campaign, the turnaround time for this Kickstarter will be very fast. But let's just dive in to the Villains of the Undercity and see what Dark Wizard Games has to offer us, shall we? Just a quick spoiler warning, I will be giving away the plot of the module and several of the encounters, so if you want to play in this module, you might want to direct your DM to this video. Otherwise, let's begin. Initially released after a successful crowdfunding campaign back in 2018, Villains of the Undercity was written by Mark Toromino and parallels the plot of the classic TSR module, Slave Pits of the Undercity, but twists and mutilates the theme, mostly to great and frequently humorous effect. These modules are written for mature audiences and the expletives and vulgarities are on full display, with some jokes landing quite humorously and with some others not so much. In many ways, the encounters and language here mirrors the zany kinds of things that a group of D&D nerds would most definitely come up with on their own in their homebrew campaign, but here it has a bit of polish and superior wit along with great presentation and old school artwork. It's important to note that these modules are written for the OSR game system, the old school reference and index compilation, or first edition AD&D, and a certain aspect of that gaming system is the springboard for the main plot of the module. This module is written for 6 to 8 characters of levels 1 to 3. Sir Wendell Hobblefoot III is a halfling who in his formative years visited a gypsy circus and became enamored with the magic show there. Or as the module puts it, Wendell loved the freak show as well as the carnival games, but that damned magic show was neato sweet. Of course, game system-wise, in first edition, AD&D or OSRIC, halfling characters can't choose the illusionist class, so in-game, Wendell meets resistance from family and friends who ridicule him for his aspirations, because halflings can't be illusionists, everyone knows that. It's a bit of a meta plot, but okay, fine, let's roll with it. Jump to the player characters who are visiting the Tavern of the Wily Wench, a dive establishment which is as lowbrow a clientele as one can imagine, located in the small fishing and coastal farming town of Los Farport. The Wily Wench was built over the ruins of an old keep that used to reside in the area about 300 years ago, but was ultimately destroyed by a dragon. Afterwards, the keep's ruins and nearby cemetery were abandoned. All of this taking place 200 years before the Los Farport settlement expanded to encompass the ruins. The Wily Wench then is constructed over the ruins, and those workers who were aware of a dungeon existing beneath the tavern disappeared mysteriously not long after the completion of the construction project. There is a rumor table that the game master can utilize to help fill in the lore of the tavern for the player characters, and the module begins with the so-called heroes already enjoying a night of revelry and debauchery at the Wily Wench. The PCs were directed to the tavern by a dearly departed stranger whose final words were, "Secret door, Tavern of the Wily Wench, and the password is..." And the manner of death of this stranger is left entirely up to the players and the DM to determine, but the fine fellow had 100 copper pieces on him, a rusty iron key, a monogrammed handkerchief with the name Z on it, and a mysterious ring of unknown origin that the PCs have not yet examined, as there were bugbears nearby engaged in a barbecue. While at the tavern, several things can happen, and there is an events table provided. These are all fairly humorous or innocuous, but once again, Mark dives into the explanative and gross out well a bit too often here for my tastes. But obviously most of the encounters are designed to start a brawl or create tension. The atmosphere of the place is pretty foul, and the place reeks of body odor and monster farts, a term that Mark goes to quite frequently whenever he wants to ensure that the scene is meant to be depicted as foul or gross. The PCs endure the mad dog stare downs of those looking for a fight and the soothing smell of high bottom leaf. Despite the grotesque nature of the place, with races and ne'er-do-wells from every corner of the world who seem to be gathered here, there is a lovely half-elf bard, a local entertainer of some repute playing here, Rosabella Songbird Haywood. Why she's playing in a dump like this isn't exactly clear. Also, there's an annoying giggling laughter the PCs can't quite place. Of course, at this point, some random event happens and Rosabella is kidnapped by the slavers and taken to the dungeons beneath the taverns. There is a clever array of paintings in the center of the tavern, which has a donut shape to it that leads to the labyrinth of rooms below. In addition to the map of the tavern, the dungeons have 2 levels which twist and turn, some halls leading to rooms associated with the slavers, while others leading to encounters related to the previous occupants and the abandoned graveyard. All of it primarily just one big excuse to go from one zany encounter to the next, and to great effect. There's an abandoned room where the PCs can meet the ghost of Count Hasselfink Moorburg, who will ask them to recover the ashes of his beloved bride, Countess Valentina, so the 2 of them can find their final peaceful rest. So there's actually a mini quest within the dungeon to be had. Each of the villains within the place are decently fleshed out. There is the dwarf Oswaldo, the chef of the slavers, with some peculiar culinary choices, who makes cannibalism delicious, and who has a pet giant tarantula spider named Daisy. There is the bugbear Snoot, who wears magical golden armor drenched in the blood of his enemies. Snoot has a fighting arena, which of course the PCs can engage in. Entertaining the crowd at the arena is the rock and roll band Kill, composed of Riffraff the Troll, Meathead the Kobold, Skidmark the Orc, and T-Bone the Goblin. One of the more foulest encounters involves the Privy Room, an adventurer named Sephiroth who has a very bad stomach problem and a desire to shake hands when the PCs find him. Approaching the stall he is currently occupying is a black ooze. Of course, if the PCs don't intervene to save him, he's melted and eaten by the ooze. All of him but his gold, of course. This black ooze is an interesting variation in that it can spit chunks of its black matter to dissolve its target. All of this mayhem ultimately culminates in a final battle with the dungeon's boss, known as the Sinister One, which is, of course, the halfling Sir Wendell Hobblefoot, who indeed has succeeded in his goal to become a powerful illusionist, and has used his abilities to become the leader of this evil band of criminal slavers and villains. Reaching the secret boss room requires navigating through the Guardian of the Sinister One room in a scene reminiscent of the Tomb of Horrors, but with a twist. Here there is a devil face carved in stone, 8 feet tall, 5 feet wide. The devil's head wall being flanked by 2 misty arches on either wall, purple mist on one side and green mist on the other. Entering either of the misty archways is certain death, as each contains a hideous chopping blade trap, which will then gleefully expel the mutilated body chunks out of the mouth of the devil's head. Once past this obstacle, the PCs can face Wendell and any of the remaining slave lords that the PCs haven't already dispatched, and the source of the incessant giggling the PCs have heard throughout the dungeon and in the tavern earlier is revealed to be none other than the halfling illusionist Wendell Hobblefoot III. However, things aren't exactly as they seem, as the evil halfling immediately dispatches his remaining henchmen, and then he will legit offer the PCs the opportunity to take their place and become criminal masterminds at his side, or engage the halfling in a final boss battle. I can totally see an evil party of adventurers taking the halfling up on his offer, and the campaign taking a pretty wild and drastic turn here, so game masters be aware. And really, the module leaves the outcome entirely in the hands of the player characters, as it should be. The front cover art is by Stephen Chuck Bowman, and the back cover art depicting the Devil's Head visage from the Guardian of the Sinister One room is by Joshua L. Burnett. Interior art is by Stephen Chuck Bowman, Joshua L. H. Burnett, Bradley K. McDivitt, Gary Dubois, Robert Heminger, Steve Ragnar Hill, Mark Lyons, and James Blute O'Neill. All of it is excellent, and some of the pieces are striking and do a great job of capturing the feel of the module and the style of TSR modules of yesteryear. As a DM, several of the pieces absolutely inspire how one might adjudicate different situations that occur in the adventure, so mission accomplished here. The Kickstarter price for this module and the PDF is only $15, and as of this video, there are still 2 days left to get in on the campaign. A link for the Kickstarter is in the description. So let's go ahead and take a look at Villains of the Undercity on my D20 scale of style, presentation, and value. Style-wise, there is a lot more hits than misses. The artwork is obviously top-notch, and the encounters present a lot of variety. Puzzle challenges, role-playing opportunities, and of course plenty of opportunities for combat and mayhem, living up to the name on the cover. However, I think Mark dips a bit too frequently into the literal bathroom humor and the poo and fart jokes. Certainly, I'm sure there's a segment of the audience that will find all of that hilarious. I'm just not one of them. That said, it's certainly not a deal breaker by any means. The production values are of high quality, the maps look great, and the detachable card stack cover stands up easy so the DM can reference it while running the game, just like in the old days. I'll rate this a 15. The presentation is where the modules from Dark Wizard Games shine, and this adventure is no exception. The text is amazingly legible and spaced well. This is easy reading, and the page count is light, reminiscent of TSR's old-style page format at 36 pages. I found myself looking forward to reading each encounter, and several had me cracking up laughing out loud. Some of the jokes are intelligently meta, such as a halfling wanting to be an illusionist, and others perhaps a bit too meta, such as putting an actual rock and roll band in one of the rooms. I personally tend to shy away from introducing modern real-life culture into my games, though certainly I'm not above a clever metaphor. In the case of the rock group Kill, I would probably not refer to them directly as a rock and roll band, but as a wandering group of minstrels that play evil devil-worshipping music. I'll rate this a 16. The value rating here is based on the Kickstarter price of $15, though even the full price of $20 is still a great value. The PDF download includes blank character sheets and pre-generated characters, making this a great adventure to play at a convention. Add in the frequent and fantastic old-school artwork and high production values, and I'm left with no choice but to give this the coveted natural 20, a critical hit. That brings the overall rating for Villains of the Undercity from Dark Wizard Games to a 17. Very good. I will definitely be reviewing more of these modules and Mark's great work. One of the joys of this channel is being able to support independent producers who are making great old school adventures and content, and as you can see, there is a lot of love and heart put into this project. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found this review informative and useful. Coming up later this week, I thought it might be fun to take a look back at the Diablo 2 supplements that were released for the AD&D game some 20 odd years ago, and then I'll do the Mutant Future review. As usual, I'd like to give a big shout out to all of my wonderful patrons. Your continued support makes these videos possible. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you enjoyed this old school module review, please help support the channel by giving it a like, comment, and share. Follow me on Twitter and join the channel's Facebook page, Dungeons & Dragons RPG Reviews. Consider supporting the channel and more content like this by becoming a patron yourself, or alternatively, you can just leave a tip in my PayPal tip jar. Links for everything is in the description. And as always, my friends, may your D20 roll true and game on.